It's a blessing to be here, so thank you for the invitation. So as Timmy was saying before, the topic is why we don't read the Bible. And what I really wanted to talk about was probably 4 main points I came to when I was thinking about why I personally might not read the Bible. And obviously, my goal is for us to, at the end of this, to have like a little craving to read the Bible. I obviously don't expect you to, after a late night youth meeting, to be running to the Bible and absorbing much, because ideally you want to be in an optimum condition to absorb anything, just like if you were to study, for example, or if you were to do an exercise or a gym workout. I wouldn't expect you to do a 14-hour shift and then do the best gym exercise ever. But hopefully at the end of this talk, tomorrow morning you'll wake up and you have a lingering craving to just reach out for that book. And so like I said, there's probably 4 main reasons I reckon for me personally why I wouldn't bring myself to read the Bible. So number 1 that I titled, so that's where we end up wanting to be tomorrow. Okay, so, sorry, this is where we want to be. That's where we were. Okay, so the first one I like to call is casual dating. When you're wanting to get to know someone in a relationship, for example, you're not going to just know about them from a distance, probably like ask a few friends how they are, and then all of a sudden, you're in a relationship. It requires work. It requires a lot of effort, and it requires a desire to be in that relationship. So then my question to you guys today is, do you know God, or do you know of God, And when they talk about knowing God in the Bible, the term knowing is a very intimate word. When they speak about a couple, for example, when they speak about a man and a woman, to know each other is actually the most intimate part in their relationship when they're actually consummating their marriage. And so when I ask you, do you want to know God? It's, do you want to develop a very deep and intimate relationship with Him and get to know Him? With every chapter that you read in the Bible, in every single book, I guarantee you will learn a part of God's personality in some way. And with every single chapter and all that knowledge you get, you'll realize there's all this lovable stuff about God that will make you want to be with Him. And so every day, if you read your Bible, you'll get to know Him more, as if you're developing this relationship, as you would if you were, getting to know someone in a dating relationship, and you'll want to be with Him even more. So the reason why, one, I might not want to read the Bible is because I don't have that desire. I just want to casually date, I want to know Him through, if I'm in a good mood or if I'm in a bad mood. I just had the time, so why not? But, when you're really getting to know someone and develop a relationship, a long-term relationship, it requires time, effort, and a desire. So that would be, number 1, my first reason as to why I might not read the Bible. I don't really have that desire. And so that's that verse I was telling you about knowing each other. In the Bible, it said in Genesis 4:1, now Adam knew Eve his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain, and said, I have acquired a man from the Lord. So that word knowing has a lot of weight to it. I'm not just asking if you want to know of God, as we would, when we were growing up. Part 2 is what I like to call the food coma. All of us have been there. I am very guilty of this. You had an amazing feast. It was probably an open buffet you shouldn't have gone to. And you feel so bloated and so potatoes that you're just like, even if you put the best and most delicious and nutritious salad in front of me, I can't touch it. I am absolutely gone. I'm full. And the same goes with our spiritual life. Sometimes we're so full of the junk food that we can't fit any more in, even if we wanted to. And all of us have experienced that peak of our spiritual life about April of every year, where in Lent you detox yourself a bit from the things that fill up your life, and all of a sudden you're on a spiritual high. You've got this time all of a sudden to start reading a little bit more, or praying a bit more, or thinking about Him a bit more. And you've developed a room for Him to be in your life. I'm not saying to cut out things from your life. Believe me, I would be a hypocrite if I told you that. But it's probably a good place to start is swapping. Maybe not the first message or text I read in the morning is a message, but rather a text in a chapter of the Bible. Maybe not the first, the first person I go to when I want to rage about something be the person next to me at work. It's actually God. I want to talk to Him for a bit. I want to read about Him for a little bit. Maybe it's not just, through the lows. Maybe it's also in the highs that I'm reading about him. Maybe in the morning when I'm waiting for a train, instead of going through that Instagram feed for the 3rd time and I've watched everything over and over, I actually read a little bit of something from his book. There's so many ways you can replace things in your life so that you're not full of junk food. By the end of the day, you're like, I can't possibly get anything more in. Like I told you before, if you want to get the most out of it, you treat it the way you would treat anything first, and you give it you allow the most optimum time to do it. If you're about to hit a book and hit the study books really hard, that's your peak concentration. Hit the Bible first, because you've acquired the most like you can in that moment. So that's part 2 as to why I might not read the Bible. Maybe I'm so bloated and full of the junk food, I haven't left enough room for him in my life. In Psalm 103, verse 5, it says, He fills my life with good things. My youth is renewed like the eagles. I guarantee you, if you fill your life more with His word, it will never go downhill. It can never go downhill. It will always be a positive gain. Part 3 of why we don't read the Bible is what I like to call the progress shot. You may or may not have been here in your life, but you're reaching a motivation to start, gymming a bit more, working out a bit more. And the classic way to know whether you've gone far enough or how much further to go is to take a progress shot. We've all done it. And you take a progress shot and you're like, oh gosh, I need to work out a little bit more. Sometimes we don't hit the Bible because we haven't taken that progress shot. I haven't stopped for a moment in my life and thought, where am I at? What are my defects? What are my sins? What do I need to work on? And hence, why do I need to do an alms day and actually reach for that Bible? If I'm always thinking, if I'm not paying attention to my faults, I won't realize I need to improve on things. So one of the key things I learned actually last week at our youth meeting was a very simple prayer you can do to bring yourself to that point, which is, oh Lord, show me my sins. Show me where I am, show me what I need to work on, so that I can have that desire and motivation to hit the Bible and, just learn something about you and improve on myself. The more I learn about him, the more I want to be him. It's just like if you're around someone you idolized, you spend time with them and all of a sudden you start doing things they like to do too, because you just want to be them. Part 4, and the last one, is nutritious but not delicious. Got to admit, sometimes I don't want to read the Bible because it just doesn't seem that fun. It doesn't seem that interesting. It seems a bit dull when I read it. I just feel like I'd much rather read something that was mind-numbing. And I think for me, this was one of the biggest things. And this year, what changed for me and what made me want to read the Bible more is I actually tried to make it more interesting. And so one of my friends and I partnered up and we became Bible buddies. And what we did was we would choose a book together. And what we would do is every chapter we read it in our own times. She seems to be more free at night, I'm in the morning. We read the passage and we make it a goal to pick out one verse somewhere in there and contemplate on it. It makes you read it with more concentration, but also makes you keen when you're talking to each other and you're like, did you realize that verse that it said that? Or I never realized that. Another way to make sure that you benefit more is to read commentaries. If you're just reading and you don't understand, there was not really much point. I like to read commentaries because they make me understand more. I have a very simple mind. And I find that they help when we're, reflecting with each other. And it's really, really motivating. It's like going for a run with a friend, or if it's like going out to eat together. It's just more fun with someone. So for me, that was one of the ways I found reading the Bible more helpful. So sometimes why we don't read it is because it's simply not that interesting. If something's boring, what's going to make us do it? So hopefully what you can do is find your own way of making it a little bit like this. You're keen for it, it's good for you, and you're the happiest person in the world. So for me, those were like the biggest main points I thought about why I wouldn't read the Bible. And I think the Bible is so rich, and we've all experienced a time where we were very thorough with it and we were reading it, and you felt a bit, cleaner, pure, like you were going to the gym regularly for a week, or, you were doing something good for yourself. You didn't feel bloated on the junk food. And there's so much to benefit from it. Find someone, if you like, that wants to join you in being Bible buddies. You might be the person that motivates someone else to read the Bible and live a better life. So definitely don't take that lightly. And I hope tomorrow morning, the first text you read might not be a message, but rather a gospel chapter or something. And glory be to God forever, amen. I don't think there should be any questions. No, but any comments or any feedback or something that you thought motivated you to read the Bible at any point? Kira, I feel like you want to say something. Sorry? Oh, yeah. I highly encourage that one. It really changed my life, to be honest. Okay. Thank you, guys, and thank you for having me. Books to read. Look, if you don't mind long books, my favorite till this day is Isaiah. It's a very, very beautiful book. If you like short stuff, Hosea is probably my favorite. It's a beautiful book. If you guys don't know about it, I don't know if you've done a series on it. Hosea, am I saying that right? It's basically about a prophet whom God requests for him to actually marry a prostitute so that he can feel how much it burns to love someone who doesn't love you back and keeps betraying you. And it's very metaphorical of, obviously, our relationship with Christ. And it's quite moving what he ends up experiencing because of this love. So that's one I highly recommend, actually. It's only a few chapters. Cool. Thank you.
Thanks, Merna. So I don't usually do this, but do we have any announcements? I think we've got